for joining this webinar. Now, we are recording today's webinar and we'll send it out to everyone after the fact. I'd like to thank Clade Solutions for working with us on this webinar. Just quickly before we begin, most people know the housekeeping, but I'll just go through it one final time. At the bottom of your screen, you'll find a few buttons. If you could please use these to communicate with the presenters. You have the chat function at the bottom and the Q&A function. We highly encourage you asking questions or participating in the webinar. You can also, at the bottom of your screen, click raise your hand if you would like to make a verbal comment or question, and we will unmute you. You are unable to unmute yourselves in this webinar, but we are happy to include you if you would like to verbally make a question or comment. But otherwise, what I will do now is hand it over to Ty from Clade Solutions. Ty.
Hi everyone, welcome back. This is our fourth webinar of a 5-part series. Today we're going through how to use analytics for member communications. The theme of today is lemons. I came up with this a week ago. We want to squeeze as much out of your technology as possible today. And on the webinar today, we have 3 speakers, myself and Shanice from Clade Solutions. If you don't know who we are, we're an IT consultancy with a product called CAMS, which is an association management solution. And we also have Fabio Bastian, who's on the board of directors for the Australian Brazil Chamber of Commerce, as well as the former CIO for AICD and Chartered Accountants. Today, the goal is to hopefully let everyone walk away with a few key tips. I'll be honest, I'm a bit nervous about today because we're trying to squeeze quite a lot into today's session. There's just so much to do with marketing analytics. But some key important points for today would be, we're going to go through the 5 steps to getting good marketing analytics, which are data segmentation, communication design, as well as nurturing automation, which would lead to better marketing analytics. And we're going to use a use case, which is something that we put together called the MX Index. For me, it's advanced segmentation. And Shanice will be running a few demos back and forth. We're going to trial something else. Usually we do a presentation and then a demo at the end, but we're going to break down some steps and then do a demo, break down some steps and then do a demo, and then have Fabio wrapping things up towards the end. But why this session, I believe, was really important and why we're talking about this, it's because your members really want to hear from you. Now more than ever before. I didn't want to use the word COVID, as I'm sort of over it, but it is during this period of time during COVID that your members you need to remind your members that associations that are at the forefront of your industry, it is your jobs to lead, govern, protect, advocate, lobby, service, and provide for your members. And the best way to do that is through good communications. And I know everyone talks about analytics, and hopefully today we can show you guys what good looks like with analytics. So yeah, as I mentioned before, the 5 steps to making good marketing or getting good marketing analytics always starts at the data collection, and then data segmentation, and then it goes on to designing and then nurturing automation, and then analyzing your analytics. And this is a big one. You can't have analytics without good data or just without data in general. We get so many clients asking us, hey, does your platform do marketing analytics? Does your marketing platform do analytics? But okay, we can, but analytics doesn't happen without data whatsoever. So the first step is data. You guys are spending so much time creating new interactions, social media, emails, designing a beautiful website, virtual events, member engagement, all kinds of things, which actually takes a lot of your money. Are you guys storing your data correctly? And I want to ask, I think you guys should all ask yourself the question, are my systems collecting data? Where is the data being stored? How do I view this data? How am I using this data? And really, what am I paying for? We break down so many different solutions for people, for many of our clients, and their data isn't being stored. I actually am a director of the Data Science and AI Association of Australia, one of the founders there. And we deal with a lot of members who are historically very poor in data. And I think that's Australia altogether. So within that demo she's going to show today is sort of what good looks like in data storage and how to store that against each member. Step 2 is segmentating your data. It's creating that personalized, targeted communication. Last thing you want to be doing with your communication is to be spamming, creating clickbait. And I know we all were fascinated with auto-populated fields previously. That isn't good enough anymore. You should be targeting your content to specific groups within your member base. And I'm sure a lot of you guys would have large member bases. So we need to break that down in order for us to have good marketing analytics. If we ever do that, I promise you, everyone will be saving a lot of time, a lot of money and resources. And a big reason why saving time is important, you can utilize that time to be creating new events or new ways to interact with your members. And yeah, so that's money and resources saved there. I'm going to switch over to Shanice, who'll be running a little demo for steps 1 and 2 on what good looks like. And we're going to use something, and I want to introduce this sort of something we've been working on for the last couple of months or so, something called the MX Index, which is the Member Engagement Index. And it's an algorithm that we've developed for our customers on CAMS on how to engage or how to track each member's engagement, put a score against their names, and then interact with them according to what their level of engagement are. Shanice, I want to stop sharing.
No worries. Thanks, Ty.
No worries.
Okay. All right. So exactly what Ty was talking about around data collection and segmenting the data we have collected. What I have up on the screen is an example of a member profile. So here we have Anna Buchanan. We can see already ATA, the Travel Adventure Association, has collected a bunch of data around her bio, where she works, her preferences, and also her areas of interest. And you can see here in the middle, we've got an engagement section that pretty much sums up every single interaction ATA has had with Anna, including emails, courses and events she's attended, as well as any contributions that she might have made to ATA. So what we're going to do is we're going to use all this data that we've collected on Anna, and we're going to segment. So
to give you guys a bit of a backstory there, while we jump onto the MX Index, Shanice.
Yeah.
It's made up of 3 different types of engagement. So, you need to refresh memory here. So participation, interaction,
and contribution.
So whether interaction is something like clicking an email, opening an email, contribution is like speaking, writing white papers, things like that. But that's sort of bespoke according to the association that we work with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. So using all this data that we have on Anna and all of our other members, we can actually have an aggregate view, so a bird's eye view across the board. So here on the top here, we can see we've got our different members sorted by age group, and then at the bottom we've got their engagement levels. So again, the engagement levels have been derived from their engagement scores, and then those engagement scores have been derived from those interactions, participations, and contributions. So what we're going to do now is, it is an interactive report, so we can actually segment and drill down to different levels. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question, why did I want to know why these members joined ATA in the first place, and that will give us a nice breakdown of the reasons why. So here we can see immediately a large majority of our members joined ATA because of networking. We can also see they joined because of a lot of training courses, education, webinars, and seminars. So what we can do from here is we can drill even further and take a look at their engagement scores in a line graph. So you can see we've started at that bird's eye view, and we can drill all the way down to the engagement level. So here we've got someone engaged 26 to 30 networking events. So I'm just going to minimize this and show you all the records that are underlying this particular chart. So you can see it is based on the data you have in your systems. And obviously, we're going to take a look at the next steps.
Awesome. Thanks, Shanice. So I guess, yeah, so that looks like...
Can I just jump in, please?
Yep.
Sorry. Shanice, we do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan is asking, how are the participation, interaction, and contribution scores calculated, and what underlying data sources are these based on?
Yep, so the algorithm is 100% configurable. So we've bundled them into those three categories. Like I said, interaction, participation, and contributions. So depending on if someone's contributed to a policy paper or they're hosting a special interest group, that will increase their total engagement score and obviously boost their engagement levels.
But the different types of activities are defined by the association themselves for us, and how they're tracked is against their member profile. So within our solution, within CAMS, but with a lot of wide majority of our solutions should be tracking members' engagement, so whether they're opening an email or they're interacting with each, different things, it should be tracked against their member profile, and then we're collecting that data from their member profile. So that's what good looks like in terms of data collection, as I was mentioning earlier. If your solution isn't collecting the data, isn't storing it against the member profile, then you're not going to have great marketing analytics moving forward.
Awesome. Ty, I'm just going to stop sharing so you can go ahead and continue the web.
Thank you. There we go. Awesome, guys. So that was steps 1 and 2. Steps 3, within step 3, we're looking at now, we've segmented the data, we've broken it down to not just age groups, but to level engagements and to different sectors. So the smaller the segment, or the deeper down you get in the segment, the more targeted and personalized the communication is. Next, you're moving into design the communication. I think a lot of associations or any organization spend too much time on prioritizing design and spend too much time on the visuals. I think the first two most important parts are the content and then the call to action. As long as you have these two key pieces within your email and the content is specified, it's personalized, it's targeted, you're going to get a high level of engagement from your members. And then the third part is design. And if you suck at design, most solutions should have pre-built templates. If not, use Canva. I use Canva. Shanice uses Canva. All our PowerPoints might look great, but it's from Canva. So you have a whole list of different solutions there. And then the fourth part, after you send out the email, it's nurturing automation. What Shanice is going to go through, I was going to make a couple of slides in this and talk through it, but I think it's better if we actually showcase what nurturing automation means. But it is simply setting out an email, setting up your member journey, and then letting automation do the rest. Most marketing solutions should have this. Leverage automation to create follow-up activities depending on your members' engagement with that marketing. Shanice, going to stop sharing.
Yep, no worries. Thanks, Ty.
No worries.
All right, so just jumping back into CAMS, I'm just going to actually start at the lead nurturing journey, just to give you an understanding of how we can potentially map out the member journey. So here you can see on the screen, I've got my segment group, all my members, and I've got my email that I want to send out to this particular segment. Now, each of these areas, I'll give you a quick example. So if we go to the segment, we can see here, I've already gone ahead and added a few filters. So I'm targeting everyone who's active between the ages of 26 to 30, who joined because of networking, and they've got an engagement level currently at somewhat engaged. I want to boost their engagement levels, so I'm now going to go to the content creation step. So here we have an example of an email we actually sent out to you guys on this webinar. So here you can see we've got images, we've got speakers, call to action buttons, so that your members can go in and register to the event, whether it's a webinar or a physical event. And we've got a few articles as well. So in terms of personalizing the content, you can even add dynamic fields in here so that when you're addressing the email, it's to that person and their name will show up in that email.
But I guess for this case, if we're doing a segment of people who've joined this association due to networking events, I think it frees up all the stuff that we just spoke about, should free up time for an association to create a networking event and then market that networking event to this segment, as it's personalized, it's specific, and it'll help raise their engagement there. Definitely.
And then bringing, once you've got the segment and you've got your email, we can bring it all together in this lead nurturing journey. So I've already highlighted the first two tiles, and now we can really dig into the automation part. So here you can see I've got a few triggers in place so that depending on whether the member or the recipient has opened the email or if they haven't, they're going to get a different pathway. So here, the member opens the email, doesn't register, then they'll get the reminder email. If they don't open the email, they'll get a follow-up phone call. If they do open the email and register to the event, for example, they'll attend the event, and if they do, they'll get a thank you email, and we can even add surveys and LinkedIn articles here. Yep. So this will help any marketing manager, set and forget, so they don't have to do this every time. It is a one-off thing where they can reuse this member journey for future campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Shanice. Yeah, so a lot of that is automation in processing that. I know the old traditional way would be just sort of guessing. This sort of provides analytics, and our marketing tool, or a lot of marketing tools out there, would pick up if there's someone opened or not, and just automating a process of the member journey. So you guys are maximizing as much as possible from your solutions. Shanice?
Yep, all yours.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. So we've gone through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've gone through data, collecting data, what good looks like in data, segmenting data, and what's possible out there. We've gone through designing an email campaign as well as automating nurturing. The fifth step to that, sorry, that was your demo one, is analyzing your analytics now. I'm not too sure what solutions everyone's using out there, but there's multiple different types of analytics. I think after Fabio speaks, Shanice is going to go through analytics that we have and what we can do within Dynamics. But Fabio.
Thanks, Ty. So I am convinced that Ty invites me to this meeting so that I can challenge his thinking and present some different views, because I will just, possibly I'd like to realign the concept of analytics and see how that fits for a membership organization. So my background, I've been a CIO for the last 15 years, CTO. I have a strong background in software development and integrations. And I must admit that I have a love-hate relationship with software vendors. Sometimes they are a savior, sometimes it's a painful process. But what I want to do very briefly is to see if we can realign the concept of analytics. Because other than just bringing analytics is a concept that's been addressed and discussed across by many, many vendors in relation to marketing and sales campaigns. I'd like to broaden that conversation today just briefly, just to give you as an idea for your future when you are thinking about COVID and you've got nothing else to do. Perhaps you can consider how you can create a capability within your organization to do business analytics across the business. So moving away from marketing and getting into what I call business analytics. So that requires a capability within the organization, right? The first thing that I like to point out is this difference of transactional versus relationship building. The struggle for membership organizations is that they get all these tools, but most of the tools today are focused on addressing a simple action of selling or of getting a member to perform an action. However, they don't focus necessarily on that long-term member engagement, which is a much, much more complex task. And many of the vendors out there are focusing a lot on just getting customers to do a particular action. To be able to do business analytics at an enterprise level, you need to consider analytics from a member perspective in your target, which will be absolutely engagement and certainly retention over many, many years. So I think Clade is on the right track with their membership engagement targets. I think that's a fantastic initiative, very, very, very handy. So moving away from just that transactional and then going into whole of enterprise measuring of insights. So where do you find data today? So we just touched on where data is available and where it comes from for us, right? But web software companies will tell you that all the data you need is already in their system. Just go out there and buy it. However, that's not reality. The reality for many enterprises is that data comes from many, many places. You have data coming from your CRM, you have your complaints management system, you have your events management system, you have your customer feedback, you have case management, finance systems, facilitator feedback, and whatever. There is a long, long list of data which is available to organizations. And I'm not even including the external data that you can acquire, which is geolocation and census information and additional bits and pieces. Most of that today does not sit easily into one system. Despite the fact that we are trying to consolidate all into a CRM, many of us will have many separate systems for all of these bits and pieces. So park that for a thought, that you have data across many areas. I want to move into the human capability required within the organization. Data is not easy. I think that's the message I'll mention to you. Data is not easy, despite what people say. The tools that we have out there, they are not integrated. The data that you have is not clean. The data does not reconcile. The data is hard to access. It requires specific skills. The data is too big. It doesn't fit in what you have. And you need specialist skills in each one of those areas. If you add that, the fact that you now have all these different business teams within the organization, you have your digital team that knows marketing and sales, you have your membership team that knows all about members, joins, renewals, upgrades, you have the events team that knows about events and calendars and when things work better or not, you have very likely an education team that does enrollments and check the feedback in regards to quality across the board. You have your dreaded financial team that I'd say the people which are asking you to explain why you want to get all this money from them. And even worse than that, you have the IT team that you also need to work with. And being an IT person, I realize that tension that occurs, and I'm imagining that most people in this webinar today are from a digital marketing background. What I can tell you is hopefully you have passed already this attrition that you have between IT and the marketing team. And if you pass that, IT can be the best ally you have on that digital transformation and really on your insights, because the skills to be able to access that data is within that team. So what I will mention to you as my tip number one that I think you need to be able to create this really, really strong analytical capability within the organizations is that you must create a cross-functional team to look at data. Data does not exist in a marketing team or IT or finance. It exists across all of these areas. So it is really important for that governance perspective that you do have that conversation. I'll skip into that and say the second most important capability you need in this organization is one staff that really understands data, one staff. And that person will have to extract data, clean, match, reconcile results, check the values with the stakeholders. And that does not happen magically. That does not happen magically, despite what all the organizations are trying to say at the moment. It doesn't. It requires human brains, it requires human power to be able to understand. Data is incomplete, is inconsistent, is inaccurate, and it requires work, human work, to be able to understand and make sense of it. So whatever you do in your team, my tip number one is to form your cross-functional team and find the one person in your team that can help you to understand and process data. So let me jump into what do you do with data. Another confusion on this is goals. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by analytics when the capability is immature in your organization. There are lots of ideas, many misconceptions, bad influence by the latest news from Facebook, LinkedIn, and Microsoft, where we all are expected to have the latest and greatest. The reality is that they are investing so much money in those areas that is frankly impossible for any smaller organization to compete to the level that they have today. But they cause a lot of confusion because they are adding lots of new data, lots of new insights into the conversation. So defining and agree with your cross-functional team what the goal of your analytics is super, super important. I'd say it's essential if you're likely to succeed in analytics. However, that is easier said than done. It's not that simple to get people to agree on what that is. I'll mention a couple of business goals just to open your mind to what they could potentially be. But you could be working on improving your retention rate. You could be working on your revenue targets, on your quality improvements, your member participation, your reduction of the debt collection time frame, increasing the engagement. They are all valid goals. So my tip number two for you guys is to agree on one and only one business goal to try to apply your insights in your analytics to it. And remember, you can't pick too many. You have to go and try to keep it very, very simple. Pick one, agree on one, and test it. So let me jump into the trap of new tools that I've seen to lots and lots of people into this. And let me just start by the conversation that you don't need new tools to start with analytics in the story. The latest Adobe, Microsoft, and Salesforce, they won't fix your analytics problem. You need that human power. You need human minds to comprehend and draw conclusions from the data that you have. There are expectations, of course, that in the future, machines will be able to do most of this work via deep learning, via artificial intelligence, and some other rather form of intelligence out there. But reality is we are still a long, long way from that. There is nothing today that you can dump all this data in there and they'll make sense out of it. So very, very interesting. Yeah. So my tip number 3 for you is to say, you should spend all the money you're going to do in new tools to train and locate your one data analyst in your team. Make sure that this person is really super trained, because the quality of your insights, the quality of what you're going to get from data on day one will come from this one person. The understanding that this person has of your data is much more significant than the latest tool that you can potentially buy from any one of the vendors out there. I know that I'm running out of time. I will skip very briefly on a couple of a few tips in here for you. Focus on the data you have. There is a large number of data out there. And also focus on clarifying some of the key concepts that sometimes are clear, but they are not. I'll tell you the one that has been a problem in every membership organization I've been part of. When is a member a member? And counting members, and for anyone involved in this, is not as easy as it sounds. If a member goes overdue, are they still counted as a member? If a member is on maternity leave and asks for the membership to be on hold, are they still counted as a member? So you need to clarify those details. But importantly, you need to find that one metric that will help you on your goals. So assuming that your goal is retention, I'm going to give you another example of what a metric is for your organization. If your event attendance is important for your goal, okay, make sure that, for example, you calculate these in ways that allow further segmentation. For example, time of day, morning or evening, event type, because you will be using this information in many, many different ways over time. And you can then start relying on that information to draw some of the conclusions you need to reach. So these are typically in data warehousing concepts. They will be people, the more technical guys will be talking about measures and dimensions. I won't jump into that today. We don't have the time.
Running a bit of time. Okay.
Yeah. So my point to you is pick a few metrics that can help you, right? And then once you are able to draw some insights, I'm just going to skip to the end. Once you're able to draw some insights, bring them across your CRM and look at the actions you need to do. But most important across the board, which people forget, everyone knows about doing the actions. They know about how to automate their tools, how to change the website to be able to reflect some of the new concepts that they have to support the segmentation. However, the piece that's missing is the piece to test that the goals that you wanted to achieve have been achieved. So that feedback loop of testing a hypothesis that you believe that if you do this, it produces the results. Bringing that result back into the conversation to see if what you've done have actually made a difference, and then refining your process is absolutely essential in a maturing, insightful conversation about data analytics, because you need that feedback loop. Otherwise, you'll be working on impressions and opinions that people have. And that is really, really hard to quantify over time. So I'll leave it at that. I will mention to you that, just a quick recap for you, that your analytics should be a multifunctional team, cross-functional team, I should say. You need one person that knows data really, really well to help you in that space. You need to define your goals. You need to look at your metrics, and you need to test, improve, refine, and redo it again continuously. I'll leave it at that, Ty.
Thanks, Fabio. We need to squeeze in one quick little thing as well. So definitely, Shanice, can you bring up the analytics that we can get? Definitely agree with you, Fabio, on all your talking points, and that was the key part of today. A lot of customers reach out about talking about marketing analytics. What can it do? But it can't do anything without your work. You guys need to put in a lot of work in terms of the data collection and what your members are, because you know your data better than we do, or you know your data better than anyone else does, and what your members can provide. What the technology can only do is back you up in providing some numbers out there. So what Shanice wants to show you is a bit of marketing analytics from a campaign that we have done, and what you guys can get. But once again, these analytics are just numbers. If you're not analyzing it, making a plan, these analytics are meant to just save you time, so you don't have to guess. It can help predict, or it can help make a foundation on what your plan should be. But yeah, Shanice, you want to jump in? And
yeah, I'll just do a quick 30-second, 1-minute demo here, just to wrap up. So here we have just an example of an email. I'm going to jump straight into the analytics side of things for this particular campaign. So again, to reiterate Fabio and Ty's points, the whole purpose of our analytics is we want to know how effective has our campaign been. So whether that's our segmentation piece, our content, or the actual member journey experience, our analytics should tell us where we went wrong, where we could improve for our next campaign. So here on the screen, we do have an overview of the types of analytics we can get from an email campaign. So things like click-through rate, open rate, and all the way through to a geographical map of where our recipients are. We can even gain some insights out of a heat map that tells us where, how effective was our content, where are people clicking on the email, and where do we need to improve for our next campaign. And then finally, we have open times that tells us, when is the most popular time period to send out EDMs. So here you can see the hottest areas are between 11 to 12, and then after work. And for some reason, 2 stands out as well here. But yeah, these are all important data points that we can, see, gain some insight out of, so we can, make a better campaign the next time round.
Awesome. Thanks, Shanice. Sorry,
No
Alex,
worries.
went over time. Sorry, guys. But yeah, overall, analytics don't work for you. You guys need to do the work as well. You can set a boundary.
Ty, just before we do wrap up, we do have someone that has raised their hand. So
awesome.
if you don't mind, I'll allow them to speak before we wrap up.
Yeah, of course.
I lost them, actually.
Oh, no.
They just lowered their hands. So that's okay. We'll just go to wrap up.
Awesome. That's it. That's it from us.
Okay, perfect. Then I'd just like to thank everyone again for attending, and thank you, Ty, Shanice, and Fabio for joining us and presenting today. And we will be excited to have you all on our last webinar in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll be diving a bit deeper into the MX index if you guys are interested in that, and how we can build that or how we build that and how it came about.
Okay, thank you, Ty. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.